Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
The music fades in softly, but the silence underneath it is louder than anything else, because sometimes a franchise doesn't feel change when the numbers come out, it feels it when the door closes behind someone who was always meant to be there. This is the Blue Jays report, and today the conversation is heavy, not dramatic for the sake of it, but heavy in the way only real turning points are. In just a few hours, the face of an era walked out of Toronto without fireworks, without a press conference, without the comfort of certainty on what comes next. Bo Bichette is officially no longer a Toronto Blue Jays player, and if you're truly connected to this team, you felt that shift before you even checked your phone. So take a second, leave a like, subscribe to the Blue Jays report, and stay with me until the end, because this isn't just news, it's a reading of direction. It happened quickly, but the impact landed slowly, like thunder after lightning. 6 years, $126 million, New York Mets. On paper, it's clean, logical, almost expected in a league where money has its own gravity. But Bo Bichette was never just a line item on a spreadsheet. He was muscle memory. He was the familiar rhythm of the infield, the bat you expected to come up when the night needed anchoring. When the confirmation broke, it wasn't the dollar figure that stung most, and it wasn't even the destination. It was the farewell. No polished statement, no agent-crafted paragraph designed to offend no one. Just a few lines straight from him. Toronto, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. We grew together. Those words landed differently because they weren't trying to convince anyone. They sounded like someone closing a chapter they genuinely lived inside. And that's what made it hurt. Bo wasn't visiting this city. He grew up in it, on it, with it, season after season. 7 years in the same uniform doesn't happen by accident anymore. Leading the league in hits, not once, but more than once. Showing up every day through roster reshuffles, front office pressure, shifting expectations, and that constant hum of is this finally the year? When the Blue Jays clicked, Bo was there. When they didn't, he was still there, producing, stabilizing, refusing to let the lineup drift into uncertainty. He became a constant in a franchise that hasn't always had many. That's why this departure goes deeper than shortstop. The lineup doesn't just lose production, it loses familiarity. The infield doesn't just lose defense, it loses instinct. The team loses a sense of continuity that can't be recreated overnight. Players can be replaced, positions can be filled, but symbols don't come off the shelf. The front office tried, genuinely tried, to keep the core intact. But when Steve Cohen enters the room with intent and financial weight, the rules shift. The market bends. And suddenly Toronto is left staring at a void that feels both technical and emotional. And here's where the conversation becomes uncomfortable, because losing Bo Bichette doesn't create a new problem. It exposes an old one. This roster has always been built on an extremely high ceiling with a dangerously thin margin for error. When everything aligns, it looks brilliant. When a central piece leaves, imbalance doesn't creep in quietly, it announces itself loudly. Without Bo, that safety net disappears. There's no buffer. There's no comfort zone. Every weakness becomes visible. At the same time, the timing couldn't be harsher. The free agent market didn't just thin out, it closed its doors. Kyle Tucker off to the Dodgers. Cody Bellinger back with the Yankees. One by one, the offensive lifelines disappeared, leaving Toronto standing in a room where the answers had already been taken. And so the focus shifts, not towards glamour, not towards splash, but towards survival. That's where the trade market starts whispering instead of shouting, and that's where a name like Stephen Kwan begins to make sense inside front office meetings. Not because he replaces Bo Bichette, no one does, but because he prevents something worse. Kwan isn't a headline hunter. He doesn't demand attention. He doesn't force moments. He stabilizes them. Elite defense that doesn't announce itself, it just happens. Offensive consistency that keeps innings alive. Smart speed, not reckless speed. Control of the zone in a lineup that desperately needs it. A .272 average, 22 stolen bases, another Gold Glove in 2025. These aren't numbers that dominate social media, but they are numbers that stop a roster from collapsing inward. He doesn't fill the emotional vacuum Bo leaves behind, but he stops the dominoes from falling once the first one tips. And that matters now more than ever, because time is no longer theoretical. George Springer isn't getting younger. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s contract horizon looms closer with every quiet month. The competitive window isn't infinite anymore. It's ticking, audibly. Toronto doesn't have the luxury of missteps. They're not rebuilding, but they're not comfortable either. They're standing on a narrow bridge between contention and recalibration. Of course, the price is where optimism meets reality. Cleveland doesn't part with all-star caliber players out of generosity. They never have. Any deal for Kwon will cost real assets, real future, real belief. Toronto will have to decide whether to invest now, risking the farm system, or accept a more painful transition that could stretch longer than anyone wants to admit. And this winter has already made one thing painfully clear. The project has entered a new phase. From here on, every decision must be cold, calculated, and precise, because one wrong move doesn't cost a season, it costs years. What makes this moment fascinating is that it's no longer about chasing stars. It's about defining identity. Are the Blue Jays still trying to force a window open, or are they quietly reinforcing the structure to avoid collapse? Bo Bichette's departure demands an answer, not in words, but in actions. Silence now would be louder than any press release. And that's why this isn't just a goodbye. It's an examination. A test of vision. A test of patience. A test of whether this front office understands what this roster needs versus what it wants. The easy moves are gone. The market has spoken. Now it's about intent. So I want to hear from you. Do you push for Stephen Kwon and prioritize stability? Or do you accept the growing pains and pivot toward a longer view? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If this video helped you understand where the team truly stands right now, leave a like. Subscribe to the Blue Jays Report so you don't miss what comes next, because the next move will tell us everything. And until then, this has been Jays Nation News, and I'll talk to you in the next one.